Are you a new mom or dad and you're struggling to find time to make your creative practice work or your creative business? Well, today we've got a productivity hack for you. Testing, testing, testing. If you're new to this channel, thanks for joining for the first time. If you're a subscriber, if you've watched before, welcome back. This is This Creative Life with Aurora B. That's me. On this channel, I share my journey with you as an artist, showing you what's worked for me and what hasn't, including the often taboo subject about making money from your art. Today we are trying yet another new setup. I liked the way filming with the phone looked, but I noticed it was a little quiet last time. So I went and grabbed a lapel mic that I actually had and I had never used. And that gets a little bit into today's topic. I have 5 little tips about recycling or working with what you have to make your art business or your art practice thrive even in busy times, such as for new parents like me. Okay, so working with this list of 5, we're going to go first with 1, which is small adjustments. So yes, I am highlighting one of my best-selling patterns, which you can see. It's a sports pattern. It highlights the city of Buffalo and it has a number 17 jersey. This pattern is not infringing on any copyright or trademark issues. Buffalo is a city. This buffalo is an animal. There's no one's logo used, but you all probably know who my favorite team is. And yes, they just won. They just won a game tonight, and I was very happy. I've been a fan since late 80s, early 90s, and I was very excited they won. But anyway, so this is my best-selling pattern so far. It's my Buffalo Football Love pattern, and I've been really excited to see the sales coming in, especially when I haven't had time to be posting a lot on my print-on-demand sites. But this is available on fabric, on Spoonflower, and I've noticed I get, a purchase or two every week, sometimes every day, and maybe that will pick up because I painted this at the very end of last football season. So I can hope it only starts picking up more as we get into football season. But this weekend, because I didn't have a lot of time, what I decided to do is, instead of creating a whole new pattern from scratch, I just painted some fall leaves, but using blue and red, sort of the same way I'd originally done these hearts. And then I made the same pattern, but I made a football season in Buffalo pattern. Now I'm just proofing it, so I don't know how that's going to go. But for me, it was a great way to add, in fact, 4 new patterns because I use the same colorways. This one was done in this pinkish, purplish, and blue. And also it was done in white. This time I chose a cream instead. I did these 2. And I also added kind of a gold pattern, which I think maybe has a little bit of a more masculine feel. Just depends. Could also go with decor if you wanted to have a nice Thanksgiving, Buffalo, fall kind of decor for your holidays. So making small adjustments, that is my first kind of underlying tip for recycling, working with what you have, right? You don't necessarily have to create something from scratch, and I know what kind of art you do might make a difference in how you decide to implement these tips, right? What I do mainly at the moment is I make surface pattern designs. So one of the reasons I love making surface pattern designs is I can take the art that I've already made and rearrange it in different ways. Even in here, hopefully that wasn't messing up the sound. We have the one buffalo, and then of course we can do the buffalo again in blue, and it's in the original color brown here, but then also the red. And then the same thing with the football, right? I painted it once in brown, but then made it red and blue. So you can take one thing and make it multiple times. And then even with this pattern, and I'll be showing you, I'll edit that in to make my fall season one, I just painted the leaves, and then I did move around things a little bit. It's not exactly the same, but I was able to make a whole new pattern set in 4 different colorways to sell just by making small adjustments. Then similar to that, what I'm working on now is a Chinese New Year pattern. I lived in China for a total about 10 years of my life, so almost a quarter of my life. You know, we can talk about cultural appropriation at some point, but for me, I celebrate Chinese New Year. It's a big deal. It's something I celebrated for years of my adult life in China, and then in the times I've been back in the US and other places. And so I last year made a year of the tiger pattern, and it was really exciting because I was hoping it was the year that I would become a mom, and I did, and it was very special and meaningful. And so I made that pattern, and it did sell some, so that was exciting. And now that it's going to be the year of the rabbit coming up, I realized I don't have to recreate the whole pattern, but I'm just going to paint rabbits and put them pretty much in the place where the tiger came. You know, I might have to make some other adjustments, move it around, but again, now that I've done it once, I don't have to recreate the wheel every single time. So I'm just going to work with what I have. It took me a lot longer the first time I made that pattern. I painted the tiger, and then I painted all of the other elements that ran around, and then this time all I have to paint is one thing, the rabbit, or maybe I'll paint a couple of rabbits, and I don't even have to recreate the whole pattern. I just have to, you know, put that image in. So instead of who knows how many, you know, 20 hours maybe it took the first time, this time maybe it'll only take about 2 hours. And last year, again, it was like the football one. I did the Chinese New Year pattern, and by the time I proofed it, it was basically already Chinese New Year. So I'm hoping this year to get ahead of the curve and work with what I did last year. And then just have it be a really simple thing. And of course, eventually I can do the full zodiac, and in 12 years, I won't even have to do a new animal, which really gets to my tip number 2, is just use the same thing again, exactly, right? Some of our work is seasonal. And this isn't just with holidays. Some things maybe go with back to school, or some people, you know, they do all of their sales around kind of the winter, holiday, Christmas season, you know. And just because something didn't sell last time, if you're selling a one-of-a-kind thing, doesn't mean you can't just put it out and maybe this year it will sell. If you do things that are digital or online like I do, you know, you can just advertise the same exact thing again, right? You know, that is still being an artist. You don't have to work as hard as you worked the first time. That's part of the benefit of all the work you put in before. You can just advertise it again. You know, put it on your Facebook again, put it on your social media, show it around, or if you're actually going to a trade show or any kind of in-person craft show, maybe is a better word. Just bring it again, right? Use the same thing again. Use what you already have, especially if you don't have enough time. You know, don't feel bad that you haven't made new art in a year. Just go sell your old art. Okay, looking at tip number 3, colorways. So I mentioned this a little bit, and this one might be probably unique to something like surface pattern design or digital artwork. You can take something you have already done and just put it in a new colorway, right? So it's like I said about these buffaloes, you know, you paint one, you put it in a different colorway, but it's the same for the whole pattern. You can just do a new background for it. Now, if you're something like maybe, let's say, an abstract artist, the same thing. If you had a painting that you really liked, or maybe it sold well, you know, nothing's to stop you from basically recreating your own painting and just doing it in new colors that maybe go with the particular season, or they're trending, right? So a lot of abstract art is great for apartment decor. A lot of people do want it above their couch, and they want it to go with the latest trends, especially today in the day of YouTube videos and TikTok videos. People want some good art to look at in the background. So just go ahead, you know, take that piece, that successful piece you already created, and just do it in a new colorway. You already did it. You know, I went to an exhibition last winter in New York City of Jasper Johns, you know, and he's a really famous, he was a famous artist. Goodness, I don't know if he's alive. That's terrible. Anyway, well, he did some of the same things over and over again, right? He did these series of numbers, and it really, it fascinated me. And I might have even talked about it on this channel before. Here's this famous artist, and he would just, years later, just basically do the same painting again with a slightly different kind of brush stroke, or maybe he would use a totally different medium completely, like doing something with working with metal instead of doing it on paint. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I would be bored to do the same thing as much as he did, but hey, sometimes you just need some minimal effort, but just to keep things going, right? And especially if you're trying to make a living off your art, sometimes you just need to do work with what you have. So new colorways. The fourth tip, okay, resize. Again, this is very easy to do in digital art, and actually this weekend I had someone reach out and they wanted this pattern. In fact, I think on Spoonflower I do sell it in a little bit of a smaller dimension, because you have to make a decision about what dimension to put it up on fabric, and I thought this slightly smaller dimension would work well for people that are doing kind of quilting, or maybe they wanted placemats or something. But I put in my Spoonflower, and I need to remember to put it in with more of the designs that you can just reach out if you want it resized. And somebody did, so that was really great. I emailed Spoonflower, I worked with them, and it was pretty easy. It was over the weekend, and by this morning at around 10 a.m. San Diego time, I was able to get that resized, right? I just took the JPEG that I had used, I just doubled it, and I tested it, I made sure it worked, and then I put it up on Spoonflower. So that was really great. And again, you could do something like this with abstract art. You could just double or shrink something you've done. You could do a series of minis. Even if you do more traditional paintings, you could just repaint the same thing smaller. There's other ways you could work with these concepts, right? And then the last idea are bigger adjustments, right? So you can work with what you have, but recycle it in sort of a bigger overhaul kind of way. That's making sense. It's late here. So what I mean by that is, for example, for me, when I was thinking of what I want my next collection to be in vectorized art, I have gone back to doing some of my watercolors, but I want to do another vectorized collection in my surface pattern design. And having gone through a lot of my art from my teenage years to adulthood and throwing it out, which is one of my last episodes, you should get rid of your art, right? I threw out a lot of physical art, but I made sure to scan it in, and I had just decades of different things. A lot of it won't work because I didn't do it with the intention of using it for surface pattern design, but some of the images might. And so I decided that one of the concepts I want to work on for a collection, I don't know if it'll be my very next collection or not, is a recycled collection where I retake some of the things that I've done before, like drawings and paintings, and bring it all together into new patterns. And I might have to add some new elements to make it work. So also, if you want to get into collage, you could take your old art, and I thought about doing this, but I'm really in the process of getting rid of things to make a move. So, you could literally cut up your canvases and sew them back on into a collage. You could take a canvas and wrap it around something and make it into a sculpture, right? You can take what you have and completely overhaul it and make something new. And the good thing is, you're not wasting that work you did before, but you're not starting from scratch either, right? And maybe you just want to refresh. You think, well, I really liked that painting, but it never sold. And maybe you don't want to enter it in another show, or you're sick of carting that same work to the craft fair. We'll just completely recycle it, turn it into a quilt. There are so many different things. So I hope these 5 tips were helpful for you. If they were, if they were helpful, just let me know. Let me know what ways that you have recycled your art. How have you made use of what you have to kind of streamline the process and keep doing artwork during busy times? I would love to know. And if you like this channel, please subscribe. Hope to see you next time. Until then, keep being creative.